It's just gone 6:30 and you're watching East Midlands Today. Tonight cleared. A policeman who found himself in the global spotlight did nothing wrong, say investigators.
The row over policing a religious procession here in Leicester that went viral. Now a sergeant is cleared of misconduct.
A new report says Nottingham City Council is far from sustainable and huge change is still needed to avoid a steep rise to council tax.
£3.3 million from the Mayor's office to help finish the demolition of the Broadmarsh area and get it ready for redevelopment.
It's one of Britain's most bashed bridges. People who live nearby say they look forward to the day when the problem of lorries hitting it is finally solved.
Hello, it's Thursday and welcome to East Midlands Today with me, Monica Plaha. First tonight, a Leicester police sergeant who sparked international headlines over religious tensions has been cleared of misconduct by an independent investigation. Thousands of people called for Adam Ahmed to be suspended after he stopped a Hindu procession and arrested a community leader. That prompted furious claims and counterclaims about religious discrimination between Hindus and Muslims. This exclusive report is from our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball.
Tensions running high on Belgrave Road last September as a Muslim police sergeant stops a Hindu procession. Sergeant Ahmed's checking if the police had been notified as required by law. Dharmesh Lakhani, a community leader, tells him to back off. Mr. Lakhani was then arrested on suspicion of assaulting an emergency worker.
With the use of excessive force by Officer Adam.
This was the response thousands of miles away.
It's been reported Hindu priest was actually pushed around.
The row went viral. These were some of the headlines in India. And more than 8,000 people signed this petition calling for Sergeant Ahmed to be suspended. But now an official investigation has cleared Sergeant Ahmed of any misconduct. It says what happened here was proportionate and reasonable and lawful. The Independent Office of Police Conduct found that his response could have been considered disrespectful, but there was no religious discrimination and nothing to justify disciplinary action. It happened almost a year to the day after serious disorder outside the same temple in Leicester as hundreds of mainly Muslim and Hindu young men faced off across police lines. That prompted a national debate about community tensions in Leicester.
Doing you all right? You having fun?
Sergeant Ahmed was involved in tackling those tensions before becoming the eye of the storm. Leicestershire police say while he complied with their procedures, they've now delivered some learning to him. The police commissioner, Rupert Matthews, says he's pleased there's no blemish on Adam Ahmed's record, and the Police Federation say abuse that he suffered online was significant, uncalled for and personal.
It's just fields, isn't it? Give me a tar block any time, mate.
Sergeant Ahmed's no stranger to publicity. He represented Leicestershire Police in the series Fresh Cops, proud of his religion and Somali heritage.
Roger, thank you.
And in a recent post on social media, he talked about the investigation. Sergeant Ahmed used LinkedIn to explain that he was deeply shaken by what he described as an online smear campaign. A torrent of baseless attacks, he wrote, turned into a case filled with Islamophobic and racial abuse. But Dharmesh Lakhani, the arrested community leader, doesn't accept the findings. He was never charged with a criminal offence and now wants an apology. And Mr. Lakhani says he's taking legal advice about whether to sue the Leicestershire force. Jeremy Ball, BBC's Midlands Today, Leicester.
Next tonight, Nottingham City Council is far from sustainable. That's according to a new report. Commissioners were appointed to help run the authority back in February, and now their first progress report is in. It says the council would need an increase in funding from central government of 70% or a council tax rise of 46% if it carried on operating as it has done. Well, our political reporter Hugh Caswell is with me now, and 46%, that would be a massive hike in bills.
Yeah, it's a staggering figure that would mean bills going up by hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But it's important to stress no one is actually expecting it to come to that. What this is I suppose, the clearest distillation we've had yet of just the scale of the challenge, because they're essentially saying this is what would be needed if other changes weren't made. The other thing this report does, though, is give a pretty damning assessment of how the council has been run in recent years, from senior managers not being around to slow decision making. Just listen to this section here. The commissioners say they've seen many examples of processes which are neither effective nor efficient. There's a constant requirement to seek permission or clearance, and the endless checking and rechecking saps energy, depresses initiative and delays improvements. The council's leadership, though, insist they are working to tackle all of this.
We're a new leadership team. Nigat and I have been leader and deputy leader for the last 6 months. The new chief exec has been here for the same amount of time. We have quite a lot of new faces around the table in terms of the decision makers we've got. We've identified what the problems are, we've worked with the commissioners on this, and we are moving forward to neutralise those problems and get the council back on track and get our house in order.
And Hugh, are there any signs of improvements?
Well, the commissioners do acknowledge that the new leadership team at the council is, in their words, facing up to the challenge. There's a tone throughout this report that seems to suggest things are getting better, but there's a very, very long way to go. The immediate challenge, though, is setting a balanced budget for next year. We heard, you may remember earlier this week, plans for an awful lot of fresh cuts. The report describes that budget setting process as the most difficult the council has ever had to set.
But there has been some good financial news today for Nottingham, hasn't there?
Yes, there has. The city's on the brink, it seems, of getting £3.3 million to knock down some of the rather ugly remnants of the old Broadmarsh shopping centre. They've been knocked back, the council have before, when they asked the previous government for the money to do it. But now Labour's East Midlands mayor says she may well stump up the cash to help them out. It's an absolutely huge project, though, so even this would only be part of the puzzle.
Well, on that, let's get more details now from our reporter, Rachel Royce.
It's been an eyesore for years. This is what's left of Nottingham's Broadmarsh Centre. In 2020, halfway through being pulled down, an ambitious redevelopment project collapsed. Nottingham City Council didn't have the money to knock the rest of it down, and 3 times the last government said no to giving it the funds to complete the task. But now things are looking up.
Nottingham is set to get £3.3 million from the Mayor's office to help demolish this. Clearing the site is seen as key to encouraging new developers to come along.
We caught up with the Mayor as she was travelling.
We have £9.5 million for our investment fund. And on Monday at our board meeting, we'll be looking at a number of projects, including Broadmarsh, so that we can take those projects forward and make a real difference. And that's devolution in process.
The news that this money is likely on its way has been widely welcomed.
This will be extremely welcome news. It will accelerate our plans with Broadmarsh. It will bring it forward as to when we can start work on there. This is a landmark piece of regeneration work in the city centre. It's going to create jobs, provide homes for people and revitalise the local economy.
Well, as the business improvement district for the city centre, it's fantastic news. We've seen some really great investment in this area of the city over the last couple of years, and I think this is a positive development for the city, which will improve the entrance to the city, will improve the visitor experience, and that's great for business.
These are some of the schemes that have been put forward for the site, if they finally materialise. They include 1,600 homes, an open green space, and they'll create about 2,000 jobs. The Mayor says redevelopment of Broadmarsh is vital.
We know it will bring jobs, it will bring skills into the area and of course homes. That's real growth that will make a difference to the people of Nottingham and beyond.
A final decision on the money will be made next week. Rachel Royce, BBC East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
In other news now, and a major road in Nottinghamshire has been closed for most of the day after a multi-vehicle crash left one person seriously injured. The collision happened on the A46 northbound near East Bridgeford Garden Centre at around 11 this morning. One person was taken to hospital in a life-threatening condition. Drivers have been advised to avoid the area. Now, you may remember earlier this month we featured Vic Handley from Derby, who was preparing for a solo row across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, the challenge began yesterday, but it is unfortunate as Vic had to withdraw shortly after setting off. It was because of technical issues. He was aiming to be the 3rd oldest person to complete the 3,000-mile row. A Nottingham volleyball club has suspended its activities because of a broken boiler that's left their hall unsafe for players. Nottingham Rockets has more than 500 members at the Southglade Leisure Centre in Top Valley, but now the slippery floor is just too slippery to play on. Nottingham City Council says it's aware of the issue and is waiting for a start date from the contractors. Next tonight, dog walkers in and around Grantham could be told to limit the number of animals that they're walking. The RSPCA recommends 4 dogs for each walker. South Kesteven Council is now asking the public for its views. Dog walkers think it would damage their income. Sarah May Bachuri has the story.
Mucky paws and wagging tails, this staple of dog walks. And for Sarah Barnes, it's been her job for 6 years. But now she says she's worried about possible plans by the council to limit how many 4-legged friends she can take out per session.
Either side of the road potentially could have different rules. So one side of the road you could allow 4 dogs, one side of the road you might be allowed 6, or there's no limitation. That would make it really complicated. As a professional, I'm limited to 6 dogs by my insurance company. We don't go out with more than 6 per person.
What if a rule was brought in which said you can only walk 4 dogs at a time?
So for me, that would mean I would basically lose 1/3 of my income off every walk, which would put the business into probably dire straits, to be honest.
South Kesteven District Council say so far it's just a survey where they're asking people what they would think to new rules and what those rules would be. Survey's going round and you've got until the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, to complete it.
It's just at the moment just to determine if there's any concern in the public at this moment about how many dogs any one individual can walk with.
Good girl, Buzzy Bee.
So for now, dog walkers will have to wait and see as to whether there may be rules to walkies. Sarah May Bachiri, BBC East Midlands Today, Grantham.
Next tonight, people who live and work near to one of Britain's most bashed bridges have told us they're looking forward to the day when the problem is finally solved. The rail bridge over the A5 at Hinckley in Leicestershire often gets hit by lorries that are too big to drive through. That's despite signs warning of the height limit. Each time it happens, it causes delays for drivers and train passengers and costs tens of thousands of pounds. It's hoped a project to lower the road will mean an end to large vehicles bashing the bridge. Officials say that scheme could start in the spring. Simon Ward reports.
Drivers with a vehicle over 4.6 metres high should not be heading towards this bridge, but they do, again and again and again.
Each time you see in the news that it's been bashed, do you think, oh, that's my bridge again?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Stop hitting my bridge. Yeah.
Brian Madison was a British Rail engineer. This is the first time he's been here for almost 50 years. He now lives in Nottinghamshire, but in 1975 he was part of the team that eventually had to install a new bridge. An excavator on the back of a low-loader lorry broke the bridge and damaged the rail tracks.
It was maybe about 3 days and we got the temporary bridge put in, which enabled the railway line and the road to reopen. And then that stayed like that for about a year, whilst another bridge, a brand new bridge, was designed and fabricated. I've seen that they've added on some protection beams since I was here, but other than that, it's the same bridge.
As part of an agreement for planning permission to build industrial buildings on nearby land, the developer also has to carry out a project to lower the road under the bridge, which would allow bigger trucks through and hopefully bring an end to all the accidents. It's thought flood prevention measures will also need to be put in place. Steve Beaumont has lived near the bridge for 3 years. He was previously a heavy goods vehicle driver himself for 25 years. He says the residents can't miss the sound of yet another lorry hitting the bridge.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's clear as day. It's like a bomb going off. Hinckley stops, there's a hole, and it can be anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours it's shut for.
Steve says he's looking forward to the road being lowered and the problem finally being solved.
Oh, God, yeah. We're looking forward to the roadworks, but when it's finally done, it'll be a blessing in disguise. And not just for us, but for the community as a whole, and for the haulage industry.
Recent figures from Network Rail show the Hinckley Bridge was the 4th on the list of most struck bridges in Britain, at more than 15 times in the last year. The transport body Midlands Connect looked at 4 crashes in recent years and estimated a combined cost to the economy of £126,000 for road users, but thousands more could be added for rail delays. John Davey has worked at a car dealership near the bridge since 1968.
It's absolutely, the disruption's incredible when it gets hit because it stops the traffic on what you know is a really busy road.
John is also an HGV driver and knows the industry well. It's the driver's responsibility to know the height of the vehicle.
Because one truck doesn't have one driver, unfortunately. There'll be multiple drivers in the same truck. And most companies haul different sized trailers. And that's the difficulty. You need to know the height of your trailer because the truck itself is well within the limits. Warning signs all the way around, yeah. More than the 15-foot bridge, yeah.
So is it surprising that,
yes,
that it does happen?
Professional drivers shouldn't hit that bridge. That's the end of it, really.
National Highways told us it's hoped the project by Padge Hall Development to lower the road level under the bridge may start in spring next year, and that the scheme will include flood alleviation work. It could finally mean an end to this being one of the most bashed bridges in Britain. Simon Ward, BBC East Midlands Today, Hinckley.
Well, let's look at the sport now, and Colin is here with all the headlines.
Thank
Hello,
you
Colin.
very much indeed. A very good evening to you. Big night for us in sport, because coming up we're going to be meeting this year's sporting unsung hero of the East Midlands. It's not a spoiler to say you're going to absolutely love them. We're going to keep you waiting just a little longer, though, while we round up the news, starting with Leicester City, where new manager Ruud van Nistelrooy said he had meetings with the players to set standards around their fight and spirit for the game. Van Nistelrooy's first week and a half in charge has seen a battling 4 points taken from 2 home matches. This weekend they go to Newcastle, who are 6 points ahead of the Foxes.
I think it was necessary to do so, to set the standards in daily work, to set the standards in emotion, in spirit, in fight, in togetherness, as a foundation to build on. And I think the reaction of the players was great.
Well, we'll hear from Forest and go to Derby tomorrow. In other sport, Leicestershire's veteran sports administrator, Baroness Sue Campbell, has taken over as chair of the board for Netball England and says she wants to continue the sport's growth. Netball's going through major changes, professionalising the top league and welcoming new franchises like Nottingham Forest into the game. Baroness Campbell says she's passionate about the power of sport.
It's a sport I love, and it feels very much like I'm coming home, really. I played it at school. I played for club, county, England. It's a sport I coached, a sport I umpired. Then my career took me through a whole different route way, and so it's a great opportunity to come back and hopefully put something back into a sport I really love.
Lots more from Sue Campbell next week. Now on to cricket. A busy day at Trent Bridge, Nottinghamshire, securing the signature of top-order batsman Ben Slater until the end of the 2027 season. The left-hander was not second highest run scorer last season. Bowler Dylan Pennington has also signed a new 3-year deal, having taken 31 first-class wickets and received a first England call-up. Now then, tonight we are celebrating our unsung heroes, the volunteers who give up their time to make a difference to their local community. Our East Midlands winner is boxing coach Stuart Nubley. For the last 30 years, he's been running the Ashfield Spartans Boxing Academy. In that time, he's helped more than 5,000 people, transforming lives inside and outside the ring. Here's Angela Rafferty with more.
I was ready to say goodbye to everything and everyone. That's how bad it was. Medication wasn't working, doctors wasn't working. It was only when Stu and Richie got involved when things changed. Everything changed from then.
18 months ago, Johnny had hit rock bottom, out of work, involved in crime,
struggling to cope.
I'd either be in jail, I'd either really hurt myself or somebody else or people around me. You know, I could have committed suicide or anything like that. My mind, at the time before then, I don't know who I was or what I was back then. It's nice, you know, every time I come here, it's always open with arms. Don't matter if I'm going through a bad spot, come on, pick yourself back up. You know, don't get back down in that hole again.
Let's go! One of many lives changed by coach Stuart Nubley. He's dedicated the last 30 years to Ashfield Spartans and the gym sessions that are about so much more than simply boxing.
Lots of people that walk through the door will never box. They come, they build a camaraderie, it's a community, and for lots of young people it's a safe haven. That's how I look at it.
We're behind! Alongside traditional training, Stuart offers mental health support, works with people with disabilities from local day centres and provides intervention in schools too.
Or say things to us that perhaps they wouldn't say to the parents, or so we can have a chat and then we can help problems.
Fire from your chin!
You don't build a boxer, you build a person first.
Helping build better people has helped build a better community.
About 3 years ago we had a huge problem with children on parks causing trouble in the streets, shoplifting, doing all sorts of bad things. And in the last 3 years that's sort of gone down, and I think you can see behind me that's why it's gone down. Because children are now able to take part in activities like this, and they learn discipline, they learn to look after themselves, and they learn to be better people.
Don't rub your hands, work with your footwork, don't stand still.
I was kind of just sat on my bum not doing anything, playing games all the time, so it's got me out of the house and everything. I'm getting a lot more confidence from it, so it's a good thing to start doing.
His life has been spent helping others, but a cardiac arrest almost cost Stuart his own life. Help was close at hand, his wife Karen.
Apparently she had to do CPR on me for 9 minutes, and I was apparently dead for about 28.5 minutes. Because you hadn't got the defib on in that first 5-minute period, a good chance, there's only a 3 to 7% chance of survival. Because he's been out such a long time, he could be brain dead. But Karen knocked that in the head because she says he's got the same annoying habits.
Just amazing how we recovered, and I think that's down to him and the sport that he does and the determination that he's got as well. But it was just out of the blue, just out of nowhere, so he's done really well.
Weeks later he was back in the gym doing what he does best, and he had no clue of the surprise coming at the end of his latest training session.
Stuart, you thought you was being nominated and made it to the finalists. Congratulations, you've won the East Midlands Unsung Hero Award for the BBC.
I just want to keep the good work going forever and ever and ever. Thank you, it's wonderful. Thank you very much.
An unsung hero for everyone he's helped, but his biggest reward right here, right now.
Thank you guys for changing my life. I just can't believe what you've done for me over the last 18 months or so. You know, just keep going and keep doing what you're doing, and if you need help, I'm there for you as well.
More than one hero in that report, but Stuart Nubley is the one who is off to the Sports Personality of the Year show on Tuesday.
And good on him. What an amazing man Stuart is. And it just goes to show the power of sport and also helping people.
Yeah, exactly what Baroness Campbell was talking about. It's amazing stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you, Colin. Now, Buxton was treated to a special musical rendition of Walking in the Air this morning. Musicians from the Snowman production invited school children to the park to surprise people with a mass sing-along. And Heidi Booth was there.
We're walking in the air. We're floating in the sky.
A festive treat for people in Buxton. Over 100 school children came to the Pavilion Gardens to sing the Christmas classic with a professional orchestra ahead of the Snowman production in the Octagon.
When we heard about the Snow Dogs in Buxton, we just thought we have to do something special to mark this. So we just thought it'd be great to give the general public and the schools the opportunity to also sing that wonderful solo.
It comes as the Snow Dog Sculpture Trail in Buxton approaches its last weekend in the town, before each sculpture is auctioned off to raise money for Blythe House Hospice.
So we're a local hospice charity, so we rely heavily on fundraising to be able to continue providing the care that we do across North Derbyshire. So yeah, things like these are just so important to us to be able to raise that money that we so desperately need.
It's so heartwarming, and to see the children watching the snowman as well, and the orchestra were just brilliant.
You could see people's faces enjoying it. Absolutely fantastic.
Being in amongst the orchestra and hearing all the voices and the instruments, it was just magic, really magical.
Despite the cold, wet December day, onlookers were left feeling festive after coming together for the sing-along.
Oh, how adorable was that Christmas concert? We love a Christmas concert. Anna, have you been to one so far this year at all?
Nativity. We've had the Nativity, my youngest Nativity earlier in the week. It's that time of year, Monica, when things get very busy in the schools. But weather-wise, it's not feeling particularly festive out there, is it? It's been rather mystical, though, I have to say. For some, visibility stayed really poor outside across the East Midlands throughout the day. A lot of low cloud was hanging around, and not much changes, really, as we go through the next 24 hours. So tomorrow, lots of low-level cloud around, and again, it might be thick enough to produce a little bit of light patchy rain and drizzle at times. But there is a change as we go into the weekend. A cold front is going to sweep south-eastwards through Friday night into Saturday. Behind it, that will clear the cloud away, and this warmer air mass will feed in, and temperatures will be up into double figures by the time we get to Sunday, and stay that way as we go into next week. So we've got all that cloud still sitting around through the rest of this evening and overnight. Again, it could be producing a few spots of light rain and drizzle at times. It's not a cold night. We're expecting a minimum temperature of 5 degrees Celsius. Much like last night, with light winds, there could be some mist and fog around first thing tomorrow morning. I'm not expecting it to be quite as extensive as it was for some today, but hanging around for a little bit. That cloud might just start to thin and break as we go through into the afternoon, allowing for a hint of brightness to end the day. But the general theme through Friday is holding on to all that cloud, and again it might just give a little bit of patchy rain and drizzle in places. Highs there of 7 degrees Celsius. Saturday, that cold front I mentioned will sweep away southeastwards. Behind it, we'll see some nice winter sunshine, and actually for many of us, a dry day, just that chance of an isolated shower. Highs there of 7 degrees Celsius. So a nice, decent day to get out and about through Saturday. And as we go through Sunday, high pressures then sitting to the south of the UK. That's going to allow for this warmer air to feed up from the south. I think Sunday will be a little bit cloudier than Saturday, but it is staying largely dry and settled. And as we go into Monday and Tuesday, that's how it looks like it remains. A fairly settled story for a time. Perhaps a bit of a change as we go to the middle of next week, but staying mild.
Anna, thank you so much. Well, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tonight with your late bulletin at around 10:30. I hope that you can join me then. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.